Let me ask you something. Who are you when nobody is watching? Not the version you perform for your family, not the version you perform for your friends, not the version on your Instagram. Who are you actually? Most people, if they are honest, don't have a clear answer. Because most of us have built our identity out of borrowed things. Other people's opinion, our results, our failures, what we own, what we have achieved, what others think of us. And that kind of identity built on things outside you breaks the moment those things change. Vivekananda saw this clearly over 130 years ago, and in the complete works across volumes 1, 2, and 3, he gives the most complete answer I have ever read to the question of who you actually are. Here is what most of us do. We look outside ourselves to know who we are. If people praise us, we feel confident. If people criticize us, we collapse. If we succeed, we feel worthy. If we fail, we feel worthless. Our identity is not ours. It belongs to whatever happened last. Vivekananda had a word for this. He called it mistaking the self for the not self. And he gave an example from the Vedanta tradition that stopped me completely when I first read it. He said, a man mistakes a rope for a snake in the dark. He is frightened. He shouts. He cannot move. But the rope was never a snake. The moment he sees clearly, the fear disappears. Not because the snake was removed, because it was never there. The snake was never there. Vivekananda says most of our suffering works exactly like this. We have mistaken who we are. We think we are this limited, fragile, approval seeking self. We have built our entire life around protecting that self. But that self, like the snake, was never really there. So, if that limited self is not who we are, then what we are? Then what are we? This is where Vivekananda goes straight into Vedanta. And he gives the clearest answer I have found anywhere. He says from volume 2, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Each soul is potentially divine, not becoming divine, not earning it, already potentially divine. Your real identity, according to Vivekananda, is not your job, not your marks, not your family name, not your failures or achievements. Your real identity is the Atman, the infinite self, the unchanging self, the self that was there before you started achieving things and will be there if everything fails apart, if everything falls apart. And here is why this matters practically. He said, the moment I have realized that I am God, that the Brahman behind me is the same as the Brahman in you, the whole world changes for me. The whole world changes. Not your circumstances, not your bank account. The world changes because you change. Because you are no longer looking outside yourself to decide who you are. Now, Vivekananda is not asking you to just believe this as a nice idea. He is asking you to build your entire identity on it. He said, believe in yourself. All power is within you. Everything you want is already within you. Stand up and express it. Yes, stand up and express it. Not find it, not earn it, not wait for it. It's already there. Express it. And then he gets very specific about what destroys identity. He says it is weakness that produces all misery in this world. It is weakness that produces evil. Weakness is the one cause of suffering. And by weakness, he doesn't mean physical weakness. He means identity weakness. The weakness of borrowing your sense of self from others. The weakness of needing approval to feel real. The weakness of collapsing when someone criticizes you. An unbreakable identity is one that doesn't need the outside world to tell it what it is. The greatest example of this in Vivekananda's own life is the moment his identity shifted permanently. He was young, maybe 19 or 20 years old. His family was in financial ruin after his father's sudden death. He was struggling, searching, questioning everything. He went to his teacher Ramakrishna and asked, "Is God real? Does any of this mean anything?" And Ramakrishna, rather than giving him an argument, touched him. Vivekananda described what happened next in his own words. He said, "It feels like a bolt of electricity passing through him." And in that moment, something in his understanding of himself completely shifted. He saw briefly and directly that the self he had been protecting, the frightened, doubting, struggling Narendra was not his real self at all. Something infinite was underneath it. He said he could not fully explain what he experienced, but from that point, his identity was never the same. The doubt didn't disappear overnight, the struggle didn't disappear overnight, but his relationship to them changed completely because he now knew underneath all of it, something unbreakable was there. Here is the practice Vivekananda gives directly from volume 1 of the complete works. He calls it the practice of the real self. When something shakes your identity, when you fail, when someone criticizes you, when things fall apart, instead of immediately reacting from that shaken, frightened self, pause, one breath, and ask yourself, is this happening to my real self or to the story I have about myself? Is this happening to my real self or to the story I have about myself? Your real self, the Atman, cannot be criticized. It cannot fail. It cannot be taken away. Only the story can be shaken. And then from that place, respond. This is not about being emotionless or detached. This is about being rooted. Vivekananda says, the sign of first-rate character is that it bends to nobody. It is like a rock. It stands alone. It needs no support from outside. Stands alone. Needs no support from outside. That is the identity Vivekananda is pointing you toward. Build it from the inside. Nothing outside can break what is built from within. 5 videos in and look at what we have covered. Fear, strength, the mind, work and identity. Every one of these ideas connects, every one of these comes from the same source, the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. I am going through all 9 volumes every week, one more teaching, one more video. Subscribe and come back next week. Share this with one person who is struggling with who they are right now. See you in the next one. Thank you.